as getting ready there, Mayor, I will say this was a project that Sam was leading, and so I appreciate Shar for stepping in. Obviously, she's knowledgeable, but Sam had an unexpected absence, would have been in front of you tonight, but Shar will step in and update you on the McDonald Drive and 45th Street curb project. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here today to provide an update on the curb replacement projects, and that includes the McDonald Drive project from 40th Street to 44th Street, and the 45th Street project from McDonald Drive to Valley Vista Lane. Here's a location map showing the location of the projects within the town. They're located on the further southwestern portion, as you can see. The McDonald Drive project, this particular roadway is a local street. It has 2 lanes of traffic. It's a half a mile long for the project. There's a wide, unimproved median. There are no sidewalks, no bike lanes, and the asphalt curb is on the median side. The current posted speed limit is 25 miles per hour, and this project has been identified in the CIP in the year 2020. McDonald Drive town is at the town limits, actually, with the city of Phoenix to the south. This is a reference. So the problem. Currently, there are deteriorated and failing asphalt curbs. There are visible signs of wear and cracking and erosion along both projects. There's a need to repair and replace the curbs, and there's a risk of further damage to the adjacent asphalt pavement. So in this slide, this is the first of several photos for the project. You can see the asphalt curb has torn away from the existing pavement, leaving gaps. There's erosion and cracks, which causes even further erosion when stormwater enters those gaps that are shown. Photo 2, this area here shows a wash. As you can see, the curbs are detached from the existing pavement and erosion in that area as well. And this is westbound McDonald Drive. Eastbound McDonald Drive is this set of photos, and there's the same situation with the concrete, not the concrete, but the asphalt is currently deteriorating, and it's still attached, but there's still issues with erosion. And photo number 4 is 45th Street, the west curb. There are signs of deterioration on the edges, as well as visible gaps in the curb. So the proposed solution is to remove the existing asphalt curbs and install a MAG standard concrete curb and gutter along the sections. And this solution will eliminate the risk of further damage to the adjacent asphalt pavement and enhancing the durability, aesthetics, and functionality of the existing pavement, and also ensuring a safer, more reliable travel for residents and visitors. So here's a before and after rendition. Before on the left is the existing curb, and on the right, the photo shows the proposed installation of a concrete curb. And this is the MAG standard curb that we are proposing to use, vertical curb type A for both McDonald Drive and 45th Street. And we have a roll plot of the McDonald Drive. This is the western section, and the turquoise is the locations of the existing curbs that are to be removed and replaced. And then you'll also see drainage lines, arrows of the existing patterns of the drainage in the area. And then to the left of the slide is an existing wash. So we are not seeking to change anything with the drainage. just to continue with the natural patterns. And then this is plot 2 of the same corridor, just a little bit farther to the east toward 44th Street. And the same situation with the curb and highlighted in turquoise to be removed and replaced on the inner edge of the medians. And the same thing with the drainage patterns. We're seeking to maintain those flows in the area. 45th Street road plot. This one is a little bit less. The curbs on the outside on each edge, and so we're planning or proposing to remove and replace those as well. So during the previous council session, which took place on January 23rd, 2025, staff presented the project and council directed staff to, 1, complete a drainage analysis and to develop a public outreach plan. So as an update today, we completed the drainage report and the proposed improvements, it was determined, will not adversely impact any downstream properties, and we will maintain the preserved historic flow patterns. And as for public outreach, we plan to notify the affected residents by mail, and this would include a project overview, a map of the impacted area, the purpose of the improvements, and anticipated start and duration of construction. So currently our construction plans are at the 60% level. Next slide is our estimate and budget slide. So the estimated cost, total cost for both projects combined is $994,000, and that includes $19,000 for design phase and $975,000 for construction phase. This is not a final construction cost. This is only an estimate. The final construction cost will be determined once this project is put out for bid. And our fiscal year budget amount for the combined projects is $766,000. Project timeline. So this month we plan to go out to the public, conduct our outreach, and then moving forward to our final construction plans, anticipated in November 2025. We plan to bring the construction contract for council action January 2026, and anticipated start of construction in February 2026 with an estimated duration of 3 to 6 months. So that will conclude my presentation, and if there's any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I would ask my colleagues, are there any questions or comments that you'd like to offer? Councilmember Liebman.
Thank you, Mayor. Could you go back to the slide that talks about the money, please?
Yes.
There we go.
Okay.
Now, if the fiscal year 26 budget is $766,000, but the total price is $994,000, where are we coming up with the difference?
So that is only an estimate right now. So we're planning to solicit the project, invite bidders in to see exactly where we stand with our budget as far as completing the project. So we don't plan to move forward until we know that we have the right amount. It's an estimate.
Okay, but it's over $200,000. I think that's kind of a large, I don't know how we would handle that in terms of budgeting. Would it go into the following year's budget? Would it be put off? Would we use a rainy day fund, or is that not the subject of tonight's discussion?
But that's a combined total, and there's an option just to do one and maybe defer the other.
And Ms. Johnson, I'd ask of our development director, I think, Chad, you have a comment about this?
Sure. I think all options are on the table, Mayor, council member. It's a good question. Obviously not the number we were seeking either. I think we believe there are chances that as we move forward, as our town engineer has prescribed, that we can get that number down. Certainly if we don't, we're going to work with finance to answer the questions that you have about where that funding comes from exactly. We have CIP monies and other things that we can pull from, and she has opportunities to do so as well. Also, as Johnston just indicated, we do have pieces that we can break this project up into so that we can do portions of them if we need to fit it in by doing less construction. So there are a number of options, and we'll bring those to you.
Thank you both. I think this is an excellent presentation, so I appreciate it. I would like to say that even though I'm new here, I'm seeing a lot of kicking CIP projects, kicking the can down the road to meet funding, and this is a pretty bad shape, and I'd like to see it not put off anymore. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Thomason.
Thank you, Mayor. A question and some suggestions for public outreach.
Okay.
In the January 23rd council meeting minutes, you had anticipated bringing this back to us in April, and to Councilmember Liebman's point about the timeliness, I'm wondering why this was delayed to now.
The reason why it was delayed, we were currently waiting for the results of the H&H model and the stormwater master plan. So that wasn't completed until May. So that's what we were waiting for.
Thank you.
That was the reason for the delay.
Thank you. My public outreach suggestions is, if you could go back to that slide, I'd like to add two things. I would like to ask staff to consider adding a meeting to the public outreach plan. If we look at the impact of the drainage, water will flow into the yards of residents in Phoenix south of that project, and there'll be construction. So I think one community meeting could be very well received and perhaps preempt some resident concerns in the future. Secondly, in the materials that we mail to residents, I think including the drainage impact would be very helpful to them. I noted a number of blue arrows of water going into people's driveways and yards, and I just want to be sure that those residents have a full understanding of the drainage impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Councilmember Lavelle.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Shar, for that presentation. Just to Councilmember Lippman's point, what do you attribute the escalation in costs to? I mean, only inflation or what?
I can tell you what we did. We solicited the cost estimate from the design engineer first. And that amount was, can't recall at the top of my head, but it was a little bit around our budget. And so in our due diligence, we sought out a third-party independent estimator, and so they came back with a higher number. And so the time difference, the first estimate, I believe we received that either earlier this year or later last year, and then the recent one was like within the last 2 months. So it could just be the economic environment, but they were pretty much looking at the same thing.
Right. And I do appreciate the transparency. So, yeah,
Okay.
Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Councilmember Pace.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Shar, again. Great work again, and thanks Sam, of course, doing a lot of work behind the scenes for a long time on these kind of things. I think, I echo Councilmember Liebman's point. I want to see it move forward. I think that area has been deficient for a long time. I think it's been good to see some of the photos. It'll cost more to piecemeal it. It'll probably be much more efficient and to disturb the neighborhood to do this together in some way. Yeah, we understand the estimates. That's what it is right now. Volume's a little slow right now for the trades out there. Maybe we'll get a little break right now when you go out there. It's possible because until the interest rates fall and more construction booms again, they're telling me they have volume at all levels. So maybe that'll help us in the bidding. We'll see. Not necessarily undergrounding, but everything else. We'll see what you get. But no, I support it. I think you guys do your homework. We have to trust our professionals to do the homework. We like to kick the tires as a council, but we're not here to second guess and try to keep, moving things backwards. So I like to see that you guys are getting something done. Thank you for the explanation, the question about the delay. Don't know if it's going to come in higher or lower, but clearly, if we're going to do projects that affect areas, I think we need to get moving on them and get construction plans going. I do like Councilmember Thomason's idea to have a a meeting. I think our residents like to come in and they like to talk and they like to hear and they like to see the pictures. So I don't think there's any harm in that. I like, you know, the mail is fine. I think that's always important, but I do think having these community meetings, it gets people engaged and they like it. And they get to ask, they may come with all kinds of different questions, but at least it gets our residents in on things. So I think it's great. I think you did a great job on this. We can't worry about, you know, we ask the questions, we try really hard to get that price down, but we can't be afraid of spending money and doing things because we haven't been doing CIP projects. We need to get going on them, the right ones. So I like this one. I think it's good for that neighborhood. I think they'll be really pleased. And I think it alludes to earlier, having that curbing is going to help with drainage issues too, probably. So I like that you waited to get the whole report before giving it to us and seeing the impact. So I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sharp, for the presentation. Did you, when you said you took this out to a third party, do you plan on doing that with the agenda item that we had before this? And is staff having concerns about other CIP projects that it seems to be a trend that your consultant has missed the mark significantly on many projects? Is this what staff is planning on doing, is looking at third party?
The purpose
Pricing
for us going out for a third-party independent estimate is because that's typical of what you should do in this environment. In my experience, not because the consultant was incompetent, but you should always go for a third party, another independent estimate. I work for the federal government, and that's what we did.
Thank you. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that having accurate numbers is important.
Yeah.
And maybe this would be a question for Chad and our town manager is, does this project still slate within our CIP priority list in the same order as it was in, or is it moving behind like many of the others, or is it moving up?
I'll try and answer, and if, obviously Chad can correct me, but the obtaining of updated costs doesn't change the prioritization of the plan, of the project, excuse me. Wherever this was slated in this year's capital budget, it would remain there. So there's no, the only way that change would make in terms of prioritization of a different than what was in the adopted budget would be through council action. So that, since that council action has not occurred, we would go on the same prioritization schedule.
Right, thank you. But it did slip not because of budget, but it slipped because of waiting for drainage analysis and reports. So I'm just asking the question, maybe we could see it in the CIP list is how it's tracking and stuff like that.
It slipped in terms of us coming back and having this conversation. I don't think, in other words, the budget that you have that's on the slide that was just up was the budget that was approved as part of the fiscal 26 budget. So we already had that number plugged in, and this item was going to come back. And the hope was, since it has been funded to this extent in fiscal 26, that this project would, and if you see on the timeline, our hope is that it can get to contract and we would begin construction and potentially complete it within fiscal 26. We realize that there are disparities in the number, but that doesn't change the prioritization. I just want to be clear. I see your point about the slippage in terms of the information that we were waiting for, and I think Ms. Johnson explained all that, but the prioritization occurs as a result of the passage of the capital budget as part of the budget package, and that has not changed. So I want to make sure that's clear.
Thanks for that clarification. I think what I'm talking about is the previous conversations we've had about CIP projects slipping in our budget being affected by it, that they don't actually land in the year that you budget them for, and we're starting to really back up, and it's starting to be noticeable in especially just in not only in cost increase, but projects that haven't gone forward yet that were slated for whether it's year 25 or 24. I just want to see something that shows how we're tracking on this. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Shar, for the presentation. Very good.
welcome.
It's good to see you.
Oh,
Question for you. This is a fairly unique area where the McDonald Drive is east and westbound is separated by a fairly large median. And those curbs have been there for a very long time. Do you know when was the last time that we did this curb replacement?
I do not have the history on that.
Do you know
last
the
time it was
reason why we have
installed-
the curbs there? Because in the rest of the town, we don't have curbs like that.
I believe it was community-led. They wanted, the curb to blend in. They weren't in favor of.
Because in the rest of the town, we don't have, on our streets, we don't have curbs. Unless it's,
The asphalt curb.
yeah,
we don't-
exactly.
That's the only, you're right, that's the only section in town, so.
And it's very unique. Now, does Public Works maintain the median between the two?
Mr. Mayor, council member, vice mayor, that's a great question. We do, that is part of our maintenance area in addition to other locations as well. Thank you.
I'm just curious, so this curb has been there for decades. And the stormwater, it doesn't look like we're fixing the stormwater issues, we're just fixing the curb. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a curb replacement project, so it wasn't a storm project, but with any curb or roadway, there's always some type of drainage element to it. So we're doing our best to maintain the existing flows, so the cuts that are currently in the curb, they're going to remain. We're not going to fill them in to maintain the natural flows and the washes that are in the area.
And if I recall correctly, on the north and south side of McDonald Drive, there's only a curb on the median side. There's no curb on the other side.
That's correct. There's no curb on the outside,
Correct.
only on the inside.
So why are we replacing these curbs?
Because according the
Why are we not
presentation,
just getting rid of
the
them?
presentation explained that because they're deteriorating, they're crumbling, and then now with the exposed edge for the pavement, that gets under the pavement and compromises the pavement. So
Yeah, it definitely looks like we need to redo the road. But I'm just curious why we're doing the curb, why we're doing another curb when the rest of our town really doesn't have that feature. So,
yeah, they need to be replaced. I mean,
Yeah, that's for
they're
sure.
a hazard.
Yeah.
So, and then Public Works is actually waiting for this project before they can come in and do their roadway, the town's roadway.
yeah, so there's not a safety issue of why these curbs are there.
Mayor?
As
if I
far
could.
as,
I apologize.
you want to?
I
Okay.
apologize, Ms. Johnson. So there are curbs in town, not to the degree that many other towns have them, but we have them usually when it serves a stormwater function, when there is some water to direct. So these curbs existed in that way, and they directed the water for a number of years to a greater or lesser extent. And so to wipe them away would cause some stormwater problems. Potentially, we're not sure exactly where the water would go, so we're trying to put them back, keep the facility looking mostly like it's looked, probably better with the concrete curbs as opposed to the asphalt. But with the same stormwater plan in mind, so the folks get the water, as Ms. Johnson indicated, the same water they're used to getting. So the water behaves the same way as it has over the number of years. So we don't have a lot of curbs. We do have them in some areas. We do have them on larger roads, which this is a pretty large roadway comparatively. And so we want to keep that water directed in the same ways through the washes and things that folks expect it to be in. So if we took them away, that would not happen any longer. It would sheet flow, and we'd have a whole new design issue to address. So
Okay, all right, I just don't see the priority, but I will yield from there.
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you, Ms. Johnson. Appreciate that, and thank you, Chad, and thanks Sam for the work he did. And I know he couldn't be here tonight. I would echo some of the comments that I heard earlier from my colleagues, and that is the pricing has got me concerned, and I know what you've explained, and I hope that we can get that negotiated for all the reasons that are obvious to you. I also think that this is one of those examples, and I think one of my colleagues has said kicking the can down the road, that we really do need to be showing results from the CIP and how we're managing it. I respect and I understand that we needed to get the drainage information, and I'm glad we've got that now, but I think we've got a place here, we've got a project that by and large, the balance of the council has been supportive of looking at in more detail, so I'll be anxious to see the next steps. And I also applaud the idea of a community meeting. I think, again, it's erring in the side of transparency, and even if, and let's assume 50 people show up, let's assume 5 people show up. Those 50 or 5 will feel the engagement, which I think we're obligated to do, and that only makes sense from, I think, from a few of my colleagues, but I think that's important, and I think that's a good practice, because we've seen it in the past before, and we know that the residents appreciate it, and frankly, we hear things that you may not normally hear when you're going through the process of planning or even design. So with that, I'd ask if there's any more comments from the council, and if not, I would conclude the study session at this point, and I would ask if there is a motion